Welcome to another episode of Unlock Your Soul with your Soul, Anto Neosoul. This is a space where we scratch beneath the surface to find out what really makes us human. I am with the mayor of Mukuru. He's a young gentleman making waves as far as the environment and activism is concerned. He comes from a neighborhood that is now literally compared to Marseille in France, to East London, to, I think, somewhere in Copenhagen, because according to Kenya's president, Mukuru, a slum in Kenya, is so well developed, it's like Europe. So welcome, the mayor of Mukuru, Resilient Mboya. How are you?
I'm good, Asante sana. Happy to be here.
Let's start with the with the big elephant in the room. The president, whilst on an intermedia interview, compared Mukuru, probably Kenya's second slum, to Europe, to any suburb in Europe. I mean, what truth does he have to it? I know there's a project he has in terms of building, houses in Mukuru. But is there some truth to it that Mukuru is close to any suburb in Europe now?
I mean, I was truly shocked.
Yeah.
Beyond my imagination.
Yeah.
Just a statement being uttered by our president, comparing my neighborhood, one that I know very well, to a neighborhood in Europe.
Yeah.
And, I posted that story and it elicited so many reactions from my small network. And, Mukuru is a neighborhood that is grappled with abject poverty in all its form. You look at housing, and people are living in very small shanties, in very, very poor conditions. And so I was quite shocked, to be honest, because it's unthinkable, the magnitude of poverty people living in Mukuru face. Yeah.
So, and you also, I mean, you've grown up in Mukuru. You've had a very difficult upbringing. In fact, we were speaking earlier on and you told me from grade 3 all the way to your high school, some Dutch family was actually paying for your school fees, literally. I mean, tell us about what it means to grow up in Mukuru and the difficulties in terms of schooling, in terms of food, in terms of health, and how paint the picture for us.
So Mukuru is actually a neighborhood situated just very close to the industrial area. It borders a number of suburbs. So Donom, it borders Fedha, it borders Imara Daima. And it's located in the biggest, in the largest and most populated constituency in Kenya. People living in Mukuru, Kwanjenga, are some of the world's most poorest communities. If you look at the number of people living there, we have close to 300,000 people living very close to each other. And so we have very few social amenities. So I'm talking about healthcare facilities. It's just in the last 2 years that we've had 2 healthcare centers, public healthcare centers. And even with that, we still have few doctors.
Or just absenteeism. They just decide we're not going to work.
And most families do casual jobs to be able to meet their daily needs. And I can for sure say that most members of Mukuru just live by mouth, They just find, at least they're very satisfied to find a meal a day.
Wow, that's very deep. When you say, if I get, I'll be satisfied with whatever happens, and I just move on. So, I mean, going through this very difficult upbringing, did you ever feel influenced maybe to, for example, join a gang or, do anything illegal to actually survive? Or was just your sheer willpower to be like, you know what, I have to get out. I have to make something out of myself?
I grew up with a single mom
Yeah.
and my elder sister, and so just like any other kid,
Yeah.
I was exposed to violence
Yeah.
at a very young age.
Yeah.
Mukuru is a place where you'd wake up and someone would and you'll find like someone has been killed
Yeah.
overnight because he was stealing or police brutality. Those are some of the things that I was really exposed in my green.
Yeah, yeah.
So and so many young people are pushed into violence due to the family's history of poverty. So because there's few opportunities, I could see that in so many other young people. But for me, I sort of was also advantaged because my mom was part of this women group, and I used to attend some of their programs. They used to run a peer counseling and mentorship program that brought youth and children from different parts of Mukuru
Yeah.
to come and discuss issues, but also to get educated and to also get social skills to live in such a place.
But when also it's good that you mentioned your mom and and her peers. Women are very instrumental in the success of this very informal settlements. I mean, they do so much to be able to hold their families, and that's why when we're talking earlier on about climate change and how there's a huge issue when it comes to gender inequality, because it affects the women the most, and the women have to find solutions to survive. And also coming from a single parent a family, when you look at your mom and you look at how much she struggled, now in retrospect, how do you view your mom?
My mom is a beacon of hope because she was very involved with community work, and when we speak now and looking back, I see her passion. I still see a passion in getting involved with matters to do with community engagement.
Yeah.
And she, with other women, mobilize different groups within the community to come up with ways they could support their families. Because you find that so often many women, or rather young mothers, they have to endure so much to put a meal on table.
Yeah, yeah.
So I see her as a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Because she frontiered so many initiatives in our work.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear you speak, I don't want to take away from everything that you've gone through to be who you are. But there's also a lot of stereotype when you hear people from the ghetto, from the hood, and how eloquent you are. Does it ever surprise people, or does it ever make people think or believe that you are not from the hood? There's no way someone is speaking such English and they're from the hood. Does it take away from your story when people suddenly feel like, he can't be from the hood? This guy is too well read. It's not possible.
I feel flattered, but honestly, it's also perception that people coming from such neighborhood cannot be able to express themselves freely, and they're not well educated.
Yeah.
But it's also one way that I'm challenging the status quo. I've sat on many high-level panel in different places and cities where I have showed the world that people coming from Mukuru, people coming from Kibera, and any other urban poor communities around the world, they can be able to tell their story. They can able to challenge what mature and experienced leaders are failing to do.
Now I understand why the president is confusing you guys for some city in France. Because if he's campaigning Mukuru, I'm envisioning it. And he's just like, vote for me. And then
Yeah.
there's our lady there saying, can I have a boil of water? And someone else is like, oh yeah, please don't forget to bring me my Himalayan salt. And thinking, this this hood is so French. This is so London. What is happening here? So I blame guys like you, but you are just fresh off the boat, literally, from COP28. And, you know, I was following you and some of the panel sessions that you are a part of, some of the breakout sessions that you are a part of. Do these conferences matter as far as the environment is concerned? And also as you begin to also tell us your relationship with the environment.
Yeah. I'll just start with my experience getting involved with environmental activism for the last 6 or 5 years that I've been in this field. So one experience literally changed the course of my life, and that alone made me to be so much dedicated to activism. And it goes back to my community. We had these Sinai fires in 2012. So in 2012, in September, I'm forgetting the date, but over 100 people were killed in Sinai fires.
Yeah.
And you know, the state company, over the years, community members had mobilized themselves to call for them to shift to a different place.
To shift the pipeline.
To shift the pipeline, because it was very closely situated to the residential area. And you know, you have people living in a house made of iron sheet, which are more vulnerable to fire cases all the time. And it happened that an oil leaked. And so people desperately rushed to fetch the oil to be able to sell it. At least make a living, you know.
Yeah.
And that killed over 100 people.
Yep.
Even innocent.
I remember it was devastating.
Devastating, right?
It was devastating.
So back then I was so young. But I still remember seeing the mutilated bodies of kids, of adults. And I still see people who have scars in their bodies. And that reminds me of the incident, because they still live in those very precarious situations. And so over the years, I got so much exposed with my community engagement work. And I came to learn that with mainstream government activities, it's very hard to be listened to. And with the likes of people like Boniface Mwangi, who truly inspires me, I saw how he used activism to sort of bring out message of we need to make changes. We need to hold our governments accountable. That is when I explored activism as a way to tell my story. So with that experience, I was able to take it in many places. I sat in many platforms.
Talk to us about some of the places that you've been, so we can get context in terms of, you know, just how much work you're doing to put this context of, you know, let's take care of our environment, let's take care of our people. Some of the notable places that you've been to.
So I won the UNICEF essay. I was among the finalists. And so I participated in UNICEF Youth Cafe. And that experience exposed me to London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And they immediately onboarded me as a youth advisor. And so I participated at London Climate Action Week and was able to bring my story which mirrors the broader issues happening at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
So after that experience, I got involved with Living a Legacy, which I work for. I went to the very first COP last year in Egypt, where I also presented our case. And even regionally, I've participated in different high-level meetings, especially coming from a youth perspective. And so it's been truly inspiring just to be able to get to this position, and funny enough, not hear stories from urban poor communities. People talk about ending poverty. You look at the Sustainable Development Goal, the very first goal is no poverty. We don't have a single advocate coming from such a place to advocate for eradication of poverty. And so when I go to these UN meetings, that's always my question. You need an advocate. You need a person who has experience, who has lived in abject poverty to be able to share their story, but also to be meaningfully included in discussions to do with like how can we eradicate poverty? How can we set up targets which are achievable, but also include voices and ideas from these places?
I have a very unfair question for you, because when I thought about how I drafted this question, it's very unfair, because I was like, nobody chooses where they're born. But if you are born rich, do you think these issues would matter to you?
I think it goes also back to my personality and also the kind of people that mentored me. So it kind of shaped me with also how I look at the world. You know, you can be born in a very privileged place, but also dedicate your life to supporting those who are less vulnerable. So I just tend to think I'll still...
It's about character.
Yeah, it's about character. So I'll still choose to do something for communities or for any other people.
With all the high-level events that you've been to, with a lot of the drama surrounding things like COP28 and the huge number of delegates that the Kenyan government, for example, would send out. I mean, we're talking about 700 people who would easily be a good conference in Nairobi to deal with Kenyan issues on their own, and then send one representative. Do you feel like do you experience any change as far as matters, environment and advocacy is concerned? Or do you just feel like we have a long way to go and people understand that this is it's not a money-making scheme, this is the real deal?
Yeah. So I just want to share this for the very first time. Here. Part of my travel, I've been able also to pay for that. I've been able to fundraise. So I've not been able just to get packages,
because you're not with the government. You're on your own. Literally.
And so most of my travels and most of the places I've been to, I've been able to speak to my small network, speak to organization I work with, to be able to finance myself to go to this event. So it really annoys me. Last year I went to COP27 and I could see a number of Kenyan delegates attending the forum with no clue of what they're doing.
These guys came for a shopping spree.
So they're going around in different pavilions, I don't want to...
Let's just be honest. They're probably enjoying the wine, sampling,
and networking, taking photos and all that.
Asking Juma where he got his shoes.
So...
I want to buy shoes like those.
It's waste of public resources. Yet we have people like Juma who are doing incredible work at the grassroots level that needs to
But when you look around, you're like, my peers are not there.
They're not there.
Which means who's really for us?
Who's really for us? You have organizations that are supposedly representing urban poor communities. They fail to recognize you. But I must say, you might not be recognized locally, but you can be recognized anywhere. My work has been published and shared in different places. But when it comes to our local areas,
Yeah.
it's hard
Yeah.
to work even with these organizations
Yeah.
that have mandate to work with young people coming from these areas, to listen to their ideas, but also like to include them in their decisions.
So now you're sitting at a meeting with the president, the deputy president, some certain ministers and influential people. There's likes of you, Akina, Juma. I mean, all these people, your peers, and it's your time to present to the president and give him your 5-point, ideas that you feel like this is what I feel like you need to do, so we can be able to move from this step to this step, and we can also we cannot be complainer, mambalena.
Yeah.
When we go to this, we can also be like, these guys are with their limited resources, they are doing X because they've made XXX choices. What is your 5-point, intervention, analysis or idea that you can share with the president in this room and tell him, and he gives you a free fall and tells you, whatever 5 ideas you have, I'll give you the money to implement them. What are these 5 ideas?
So it's interesting. I met the president just before he got interviewed by CNN in Dubai. And it was just a rush of a moment.
Yeah.
I really wanted to ask him about the housing bill
Yes.
that is really
pushing for. Yeah.
One, you cannot craft an urban housing scheme without listening to the people who live there.
Yeah. Without the urban poor.
Without the urban poor.
Yeah.
So he has this very ambitious project.
Yeah.
Yet it lacks information. It lacks ideas. It lacks the needs. It lacks assessment. Participation from people coming from such a place.
Yeah.
So while listening to him recently, I was shocked. He needs to ensure that we have strengthened public participation forum where people come and they discuss issues, but also make a follow-up. They can come and discuss. Many a times I attend this public participation forum.
Yes.
We have our ideas captured, but that is not reflected in implementation processes. So we have to strengthen these public participation mechanisms to be able to not only capture, but also work out a way that will have follow-up and will have activities that people have identified to be able to be implemented. Secondly, you cannot also think of building houses in places where people already exist without figuring out where these people are going. I have lived my whole life in Mukuru, Kwanjenga. I moved just close to Mukuru because I still want to remain involved with our community work.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell me you have this idea of building an ambitious housing project and then moving out people. These are not dogs.
Yeah.
These are people.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out, are we going to compensate them? Are we going to locate them to a different location? We have to figure out.
Are we making them the first owners of these houses?
Yeah.
Because the biggest issue even now with the people on the ground is they're saying that this urban housing development project is that they're afraid we'll literally have new landlords from other areas coming to own these houses.
So
the people on the ground, are they going to be the ones who are given first priority to own those houses?
Yeah, here's the thing. We're not refusing development.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to live in decent places.
Yeah.
We want to have we want to have nice place, right?
Yeah.
But we also want us to be listened.
Yes.
So there's a wrong message that is going around.
Yeah.
People from Mukuru, people from Kibera, people from Dandora or any other urban poor community in Nairobi, they're not refusing development. They want to be part and parcel of that decisions being made.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of listening to us and enabling, seeing us as enablers because we have a vision.
Yeah.
But
now, actually, it's good to say that now my philosophical mind is beginning to tell me that there is a correlation between poverty and policy, in the sense that the poorer you are, the lesser of a say you have as far as policy and implementation is concerned. Whilst the richer or the more enabled you are, the more you're allowed a seat on the table to have a conversation around your security, around your environment, around what you can become, around what affects you.
Yeah.
But the poorer you are, you don't have a say. Shut up, sit, and let us tell you how things are gonna go. So the idea of that when you're poor, we are trying to create these decent living conditions for you, but also you should not speak. Why are you speaking? See, you're poor and we're the ones who know how we can get you out of poverty. So keep quiet. So now that I've thought about it, there's a condescending attitude towards the poor. That you will remain as poor as we will. And when we try to get you out of it, you shouldn't talk. You're talking or you're having a say is basically you trying to mess with the status quo, and we can take it away from you.
Yeah.
See, you're trying to argue with us. We can as well take these houses and take them to people who are more thankful of the opportunity. Well, it shouldn't be like that. Governments are not here to be pleased.
Yeah.
They're here to please the people, not to be pleased. So I'm really finding it very... Now you see, when I sit in my house and I listen to this conversation, it might not affect me, to be honest. I may not care. Because to me, I'm like, it's another story. But there's people, human beings, who are actually affected on the ground in Mukuru, in Kibera, in Kawangware, in all these places, when they are told move out and we want to build anew. What happens? Where is their voice? So anyway, I don't want to be so like angry black man.
No, it's okay. It's okay actually to be angry, because I read an article that said, you see all these movements that have been happening around. The more angry you become, the more you challenge the government to respond to your issues. I remember we've had so many encounters in Mukuru. I have a friend called Daudi Anamiture. He won the Human Rights Defender Award. For him, help mobilize young people, because in Mukuru we've had so many issues of land grabbing. So it happened that we had like a public school that was grabbed and developed by a private big man.
The audacity.
And it was through anger that we were able to return back the public school. So right now we have a public school, and I can tell you for sure it was due to anger that we stormed that school. We used power.
You made noise.
We made noise.
We were talking about this before when you went to the dispensary, the hospitals, and you couldn't get any service. And I told you how one time I went to the National Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company, offices, and they couldn't give me service. And I've been there for 3 hours. And there's Kenyans who are there for 6 hours, and who are like, and I was asking them, why are you guys okay with this? And they're like, now what do you want us to do? I'm like, what do you mean? We have a voice.
Yes.
We just make, and the thing is, when you make the noise there, these guys don't know where we live.
Exactly.
So, and already we don't have water. So they're gonna cut it twice. No.
Yeah.
So we just make, so I started making noise. So what I did, I'd go to the wall and read their mission statement. And start saying, you guys are saying that your job is to serve in a timely manner, and you're not serving us in a timely manner. Now I was making all the noise till the boss, when she landed, she was like, I'm at the parking lot and I have a huge voice and I'm hearing noise in the offices. What is happening? She drove with me. I got a free ride home to come and check how comes we haven't had water in like a year. We've always been buying water. We've never had water running in our taps. And that's how my problem was fixed. And you should have seen the guys next to her pretending like, oh, they were trying to help fix it. Because they just didn't care. And we've spoken about this and how colonialism is literally the reason why we are in this problem. In the sense that the colonialists transferred this lack of empathy to seeing other human beings as animals. That anybody who took over power, anybody who's in power, when we talk about the city council, when we talk about the government of the day, when we talk about service providers, when we talk about civil servants, they see other human beings as others.
Exactly.
And you must you must part with money, you must part with something for that to replace the lack of empathy with service. So it's very disheartening that that there must be a transfer.
Exactly,
and in your case, that somebody, for them to gain a land, they must transfer money to whoever so they can get public land where children should be playing. And I saw a video yesterday on NTV where, I mean, kids were playing next to the women where they're selling their wares on the street. That's just, and it's been so normalized.
It's insane.
That when people like you come out of Mukuru, it's like, to be honest, it's very commendable, because your type, my type, were never meant to make it. They just won't allow us to make it.
Yeah.
So it's very disheartening. Tell us about Leaving a Legacy, what the organization is for, what you do there, what does it stand for, and how, and the kind of legacy that you want to leave.
So earlier on, I mentioned I'm the East Africa Project Coordinator for Leaving a Legacy.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
You're like 12. And you're East Africa Project Coordinator.
I'm a project coordinator.
You're like 12 years old. You look like you finished school yesterday. I don't know if it's the food you're eating. I don't know what's happening. Or is it the frequent flights? You know what? You and Juma look like you should be in school. I don't know what's happening.
No.
Yeah.
So I was saying, actually, East Africa Project Coordinator for Leaving a Legacy.
Yeah.
We are an organization based in the UK, but have operations here in East Africa. So one of our biggest mandate is we are championing environmental work at the grassroots level. Our founder founded Leaving a Legacy because she was so passionate with the grassroots work that is being accelerated, yet with very few funding. And so we are using a criteria to identify vulnerable communities, the kind of project they want to scale, but also like the people who are running these initiatives. Because more often we find people running some initiatives, they pocket lots of money.
Yeah.
But for us, we are more interested in the kind of work that is being accelerated. And so it is through that we've been able this year so far to work with communities through our transformative climate workshop series, whereby we're using climate education to identify such communities, including Mtasafi. In coastal area, we've been able to plant mangrove, which is a huge and ambitious project that is creating livelihood, but also mangroves are known as, I'm forgetting this word, but they hold a lot of carbon. And so local communities in that area are investing their time, their resources in ensuring that the biodiversity in that area is protected and maintained. So Leaving a Legacy also has, we've launched an app, and we're having climate educations, we are having resources, we are having communities being created whereby we can help fund and help them to mobilize resources to scale up their work.
I love that. What about you personally? What legacy would you like to leave when you think about how difficult your upbringing has been and how you've gone through, those bumps and potholes to be who you are today? What legacy would you like to leave this earth? When we talk about the environment, Wangari Maathai talks about, that little thing that, that you love and you're passionate about, that you hold on to it and you make something out of it. So what's your little thing? And how do you intend to leave a legacy out of it?
It's a big question, but for me is I want to leave this world with kids living in urban poor communities, seeing that they can make changes around the world. Kids who are growing in these very difficult places.
Yeah.
We are having so many families that are plunged into poverty. I want them to see that they can make changes.
Yeah.
And the small changes they're making already, that can be a source of inspiration to the generations to come. That nothing is too small. That they should not be sort of discouraged because of their environment. They should take that as an experience that can challenge so many issues.
A stepping stone to
and to be
everything.
resilient. To be resilient.
Don't you say that my legacy is I want to have. I was like, kids? I was like, what do you mean you want to have kids? Like many children. I was like, what is? Then I realized, it's the kids, the inspiration. I was very worried that after all these great things you've done, your legacy is to have many children. That
should be cut, honestly.
No, we're keeping it like that. Anyway, thank you, Mboya. Thank you for always having a smile, regardless of everything that you've gone through. So as we conclude, first and foremost, how can people reach you if they want to leave a legacy? Can they email you? I always leave everyone's information on the caption, but I realize I think when you say it, they will stick with it. So how can they get in touch with you if they want to?
So you can follow me on my social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, Resilient Mboya. But also you can email me at Geoffrey livingalegacy.com.
Cool. Do you fast?
At times, I do fast.
Yeah, I mean, people like you who are just skinny naturally, and some of us who smell fries and add weight because that's fasting. But anyway, so in my pocket roomie here, this is my word for you: fast from thoughts. Fast. Thoughts are like the lion and the wild ass. Men's hearts are the thickets they haunt. Fasting is the first principle of health. Restraint is superior to medication. Scratching only aggravates the itch. Fast and behold the strength of the spirit. So go on and fast.
Asante sana.
If you get it, you get. If you don't, forget about it. Don't forget to go to our social media handles at Unlock Your Soul Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification button, and make sure you tell everybody about this guy, Geoffrey Mboya, as seen on CNN, now on Unlock Your Soul. Keep it locked. Thank you for choosing Unlock Your Soul podcast, where it helps you to grow and, of course, unlock your soul. I hope you learned something new, something bright, something great today, and that you can also share this podcast with each and every single person that you know. All you gotta do is review, like, and share this podcast on your favorite social media platform. Also, make sure you check us out on YouTube at Unlock Your Soul Podcast, on Instagram at Unlock Your Soul Pod, and on TikTok at Unlock Your Soul Podcast. It's time